It's 11 at night. Everyone in the house is asleep. Your laptop is the only light in the room, and you tell yourself the same thing you told yourself an hour ago. Just one more email, then I'm done. You finish it. You don't close the laptop. Your body is tired, and some part of you already knows this isn't normal. That's the strange part. You're not confused about it. You can watch yourself doing it and still not put the machine down. People call it discipline, but discipline rests, and yours never does. This isn't a strong engine. It's an engine that forgot how to turn off. Stay with me until the part about why every promise you've made to slow down has failed, because this addiction has one thing no other addiction does. And once you see it, you'll understand why willpower was never enough. So let's give this its real name, because hard worker isn't it. In 1971, a psychologist named Wayne Oates wrote a small book called Confessions of a Workaholic. He was writing about himself. His need to work had the same shape as his father's need to drink, and he coined a word for it: workaholic. Decades later, a researcher at the University of Bergen named Cecily Scho Andreasen made it measurable. She took the 7 signs psychologists use to identify any addiction: the way it takes over your thoughts, the way you need more of it to feel the same, the way you get restless when you can't do it, and showed they fit work as cleanly as they fit gambling or alcohol. Read that again. The same 7 markers, which means the thing you've called a personality trait may be running on the same machinery as a chemical habit. So why would an intelligent brain keep the engine redlining while every warning light is on? Here's the machinery. A Dutch researcher named Wilmar Schauffele spent years pulling apart what workaholism actually is, and he found it's 2 things stacked together. The first is obvious: you work a lot. But the second is what matters: you work compulsively. There's an inner pressure that won't switch off even when the work is done. Picture an engine idling in a locked garage. The car goes nowhere, but the motor keeps running, burning fuel, filling the room with exhaust. That's the compulsion. And the work isn't really about the work. When you open the laptop, the noise in your chest gets quieter. The anxiety finally has somewhere to go. Being busy is the one state where you don't have to feel whatever's underneath it. So the engine doesn't run because you love the road. It runs because the second it stops, the silence gets loud. But why would your brain build a machine that treats rest as a threat? For a lot of people, the wiring goes back a long way. Maybe you grew up in a house where love arrived attached to achievement. You brought home the grade, and the face across the table lit up. And you learned, young, that you're valuable when you produce and invisible when you don't. So rest never felt like rest. It felt like disappearing. But not every engine like this was built in childhood, and I don't want you walking away thinking your past broke you. There's a second cause that has nothing to do with your family. Work pays you on the most addictive schedule that exists. A psychologist named B.F. Skinner proved long ago that the fastest way to hook any creature on a behavior isn't to reward it every time, it's to reward it unpredictably. Sometimes the email brings good news, sometimes it doesn't, and you never know which pull of the lever pays out, so you keep pulling. That's the same mechanism that keeps people at slot machines, running quietly underneath your inbox. Now we need to pause and clear something up, because there's a version of this that isn't hurting you at all. Because not all hard work is this, and the difference changes everything. A researcher at the University of Georgia named Melissa Clark gathered decades of studies and found something people constantly miss. Working long hours and being addicted to work are not the same thing. There are people who work as many hours as you and come out energized and healthy. The hours aren't the problem. The direction is. So here's the question I want you to actually ask yourself, the most useful one in this whole video. Is the work pulling you, or is something pushing you? When work pulls you, you're moving towards something, a problem you find beautiful, a thing you want to build. Call that pull. The engine's in gear, the wheels have traction, going somewhere. When work pushes you, you're not moving toward anything, you're moving away from the anxiety, the emptiness, the feeling that stopping is dangerous. Call that push. The engine's redlining, but the car's in neutral, burning fuel and going nowhere. Clark found the pulled people stayed well, and the pushed people burned out and lost what mattered to them. And here's the trap. Almost nobody stays on one side. You slide. You start a project because you love it, and somewhere in the middle, it stops being something you run toward and becomes something you run from. The work looks identical from the outside, so nobody notices, least of all you. Why does that slide happen so easily? Let me tell you something that unsettles most people who've tried and failed to slow down. You've probably tried before. You booked the vacation, you set the hard line, you promised someone this time would be different. And within a week, you were back at the laptop at 11 at night, and you filed that failure away as proof you're weak. Here's the truth. Every other addiction has the world pushing against it. Drink too much and people stage an intervention. Gamble too much and you hide it in shame. But work too much and your boss promotes you. Your bank rewards you. Your culture calls you a hero. This is the only addiction on earth where the entire world is your dealer, and every relapse gets applause. So when you tried to use willpower and it didn't hold, that wasn't a character flaw. You were trying to white-knuckle out of a behavior your job, your money, and your whole culture reinforce from every direction. Nobody's willpower survives that. It was never a fair fight. And we need to talk about what the engine is burning to keep running, because it isn't free. It burns your body first. The shoulders climb toward the ears, the sleep goes thin. And Andreasen's work ties this pattern to real anxiety and real exhaustion. But it burns something quieter too. Picture your kid asking you to watch the thing she practiced, and you say, in a minute, and the minute never comes, and one day she stops asking. That's the real bill. The engine doesn't just cost you your evenings, it idles right through the exact moments you were working so hard to deserve. So how do you turn the key without the whole thing feeling like it's falling apart? Here's how you start letting the engine idle. First, don't obey the thought that says stopping is dangerous. That pressure in your chest that says 1 more hour or everything falls apart is not a fact. It's the compulsion talking. And there's a tool for it from the psychologist Stephen Hayes called cognitive diffusion. When the thought arrives, you don't argue with it. You put 4 words in front of it. Instead of, I have to finish this tonight, you say to yourself, I'm having the thought that I have to finish this tonight. That tiny gap is you stepping back far enough to see the motor running instead of being the motor. Do it once a day, and the pressure starts to look like a weather system passing through, not an order you have to follow. Second, don't leave the shutoff point up to how you feel in the moment, because in the moment, the engine always wants 5 more minutes. Pick a time, say 9 p.m., and give yourself 1 sentence to say out loud when it arrives. The work will still be here tomorrow, and so will I. Then, close the laptop all the way and physically carry it into another room. You're not doing this because the work is finished. It's never finished. You're doing it because you've decided you're allowed to exist when you're not producing. The first few nights, the silence will feel loud. Let it. That loudness is the exhaust clearing out of the garage, and it passes. And third, don't take your foot off the accelerator without asking what you were running from, because the push is always facing something. There's a researcher named James Pennebaker who showed that writing about what's underneath for as little as 10 minutes changes how the body carries it. So for 10 minutes, on paper, finish this sentence honestly. When I finally stop working, the feeling I don't want to feel is. Whatever comes out, that's the thing the engine has been outrunning. And you can't build a life around a feeling you've never once let yourself look at. Before you go, I want to say something to the part of you that's scared to slow down. I know how many hours you've poured into this, and I don't think it was foolish. For a long time, the work saved you. It gave you somewhere to put the fear when nothing else could hold it, a way to matter on the days you couldn't believe you mattered on your own. When everything else felt uncertain, the work was the one engine that always started on the first try. But you don't have to keep driving through the night to earn your place here. There's a whole life running in the passenger seat while you watch the road, a meal that goes cold because the conversation got good, the weight of a kid asleep against your chest, an ordinary Tuesday you were actually inside of. That life doesn't need you to achieve it. It just needs you there for it. The engine has carried you far enough. It's okay to pull over, turn the key, and let it rest. If this reached something in you, tell me in the comments. Is your work pulling you forward, or is something pushing you from behind? And if you've ever found your way back from the second one, tell me how you got through it, because someone scrolling past tonight needs to read exactly that. If it helped, leave a like so it finds the next person running their engine into the ground. Share it with someone you love who hasn't taken a real day off in years. They may not be able to say this out loud, so let this say it for them. And subscribe so we can keep taking apart the quiet things that run our lives. Be a little gentler with yourself today. You've already done enough. I'll see you in the next one. Go turn something off tonight.